Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sītā Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 23. This morning, we're fortunate to have His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia, to give a class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sītā Prabhupada.
Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Can we play the Srila Prabhupada chanting Jaya Radha Madhava? I sent you a link.
Oh, because I didn't know that we were going to do that, but I'll go back to it and access it.
Well, if it's too much, I can chant, but it was nice.
Yeah, all right. It's up to you, but we can do it next time because it'll take me about a minute or so to get to, if you don't mind waiting. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah, a minute's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll do it. There you go. Okay. Okay. Try it out. Okay, here come.
Thank you. You can chant along too.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari, Jaya Radha Punya Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari, Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari,
Giridharidhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Atira Vanachari
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Jaya asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ Ananta Koti Vaishnava
Jai.
Okay.
ISKCON founder Ācharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yay.
Naam Ācharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Yay.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
Yay.
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय।
Yay.
वृंदावन धाम की जय।
Yay.
नवद्वीप धाम की जय।
Yay.
गंगा माई की जय।
Yay.
जमुना माई की जय।
Yay.
तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय।
Yay.
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
Hari Hari Bo.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We are reading, studying, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 7th chapter, 23rd verse. The chapter is entitled, anybody know? Other than Parikshit Prabhu, because he knows. Anybody?
Scheduled incarnations of the Lord.
Yes, thank you, dear Krishna. Scheduled incarnation with specific functions. Yes, yeah. Asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat. Could you make it a little bigger? asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat. Please chant.
Asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guru nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat. Hare Krishna.
asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat. Hare Krishna.
Asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat.
Anyone else like to chant? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
asmat-prasāda-sumukhaḥ kalayā kaleśa ikṣvāku-vaṁśa avatīrya guror nideśe tiṣṭhan vanaṁ sa-dayitānuja āviveśa yasmin virudhya daśa-kandhara ārtim ārcchat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Asmat, unto us, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. Prasāda, causeless mercy. Sumukhaḥ, so inclined. Kalayā, with his plenary expansions. Kaleśa, the Lord of all potencies. Ikṣvāku, Mahārāja Ikṣvāku, in the dynasty of the sun. Vanquished, family. Avatīrya, by descending in guror, of the father or spiritual master. Nideśe, under the order of. Tiṣṭhan, being situated in. Vanaṁ, in the forest. sa-dayitānuja, along with his wife and younger brother, āviveśa, entered, yasmin, unto whom, virudhya, being rebellious, daśa-kandhara, Rāvaṇa, who had 10 heads, ārtim, great distress, ārcchat, achieved. Translation. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Mahārāja Ikṣvāku as the Lord of his internal potency, Sītā. Under the order of his father, Mahārāja Daśaratha, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother, Rāvaṇa, who was very materially powerful. Oh, years with his wife and younger brother, period. Rāvaṇa, who was very materially powerful, with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished. Purport. Lord Ram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his brothers, namely Bharat, Lakshman, and Shatrughna, are his plenary expansions. All 4 brothers are Vishnu Tattva and were never ordinary human beings. There are many unscrupulous and ignorant commentators on the Ramayana who present the younger brothers of Lord Ramchandra as ordinary living entities. But here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the most authentic scripture on the science of Godhead, it is clearly stated that his brothers were plenary expansions. Originally, Lord Ramchandra is the incarnation of Vasudeva. Lakshman is the incarnation of Sankarshan. Bharat is the incarnation of Pradyumna, and Shatrughna is the incarnation of Aniruddha. Can we move it up? Expansions of the personality of Godhead. Lakshmiji Sītā is the internal potency of the Lord and is neither an ordinary woman nor the external potency incarnation of Durga. Durga is the external potency of the Lord, and she is associated with Lord Shiva. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4:7, the Lord appears when there are discrepancies in the discharge of factual religion. Lord Ramchandra also appeared under the same circumstances, accompanied by his brothers, who were expansions of the Lord's internal potency, and by Lakshmiji Sītā Devi. Lord Ramchandra was ordered by his father, Mahārāja Daśaratha, to leave home for the forest under awkward circumstances. And the Lord, as the ideal son of his father, carried out the order even on the occasion of his being declared the king of Ayodhya. One of his younger brothers, Lakshmanaji, desired to go with him, and so also his eternal wife Sītāji desired to go with him. The Lord agreed to both of them, and altogether they entered the Dandakaranya forest to live there for 14 years. During their stay in the forest, there was some quarrel between Ramchandra and Rāvaṇa, and the latter kidnapped the Lord's wife Sītā. The quarrel ended in the vanquishing of the greatly powerful Rāvaṇa, along with all his kingdom and family. Sītā is Lakshmiji, or the goddess of fortune, but she is never to be enjoyed by any living being. She is meant for being worshipped by the living being, along with her husband, Sri Ramchandra. A materialistic man like Rāvaṇa does not understand this great truth, but on the contrary, he wants to snatch Sītā Devi from the custody of Ram and thus incurs great miseries. The materialists who are after opulence and material prosperity may take lessons from the Ramayana that the policy of exploiting the nature of the Lord without acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord is the policy of Rāvaṇa. Rāvaṇa was very advanced materially, so much so that he turned his kingdom, Lanka, into pure gold, or full material wealth. But because he did not recognize the supremacy of Lord Ramchandra and defied him by stealing his wife Sītā, Rāvaṇa was killed, and all his opulence and power were destroyed. Lord Ramchandra is a full incarnation with 6 opulences in full, and he is therefore mentioned in this verse as kaleśa, or master of all opulence. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Chayam Rupakada Maham Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask the blessings and permission of all devotees, and particularly those who may be senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this is a wonderful verse summarizing some of the activities of Lord Ramchandra, who appeared in the Treta Yuga. Says here, he appeared in the family of Mahārāja Ikṣvāku. That's an interesting name, Ikṣvāku. We don't hear that too much. But there are, in this this millennium, there are 2 dynasties, ruling dynasties. One coming from the sun, the president of the sun, and the other that's called Surya Vaṁśa, and the other coming from the monarch of the moon, that's called, anybody? Chandra-vaṁśa. Yeah, Chandra-vaṁśa. Chandra means moon, Surya means sun. So they're the descendants of the moon and the sun. So Lord Ramchandra appeared in the dynasty of the sun, of whom Ikṣvāku Mahārāja was the initial king on the earth in that dynasty, in this Treta Yuga. And Lord Krishna, he appeared in the dynasty of the moon, the Chandra-vaṁśa. Therefore, we see that when Lord Ramchandra appeared, he appeared, you know what time he appeared?
Noon time.
High noon, yes, high noon. Abhijit Muhurtus, high noon, yeah. And Lord Krishna appeared. Being high noon means when the sun is the most powerful, the most strong. And then Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty of the moon at midnight, when the moon is full. When moon was full, even though it was the 8th day. So there are many famous kings who are in the descendants, who are in the dynasty of the sun. I don't know if you know any of them. Would you like to say? In the Vedic literature, I'm talking. Dynasty of the sun.
Maharaj Dilip.
Dilip, how is he famous?
He brought I know Bhagirath, not about Dilip too much.
Yeah. Dilip was a forerunner of Mahārāja Bhagirath, who, after a long penances, not only of him but his forefathers, brought the Ganges to the earth. Yeah. So that he was a Surya Vaṁśa. Yeah, good. Any others? Yes.
Manu.
What's that?
Manu?
Vaivasvata Manu, yeah. This is the seventh, and every day of Brahma, which is 4,320,000,000 years, there's 14 Manus. We're the seventh Manu. So Vaivasvata Manu is the current Manu, seventh. He was previously Satyavrata Muni in the last Manu, but he in this Manu he became the son of the sun god Vaivasvan, and therefore he's called Vaivasvata Manu. So some other famous Surya Vaṁśa kings are Mahārāja Ambarish.
Ambarish.
Remember him? Yeah, Ambarish. Mahārāja Khatvanga. You know Khatvanga Maharaj?
Yes.
He was the one who did some work for the demigods, and then they gave him a boon that he would know when he's going to die. So then they told him, well, he's going to die in just a few moments. So that took that time to take full shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Others are Mahārāja Nimi. Mahārāja Nimi is the one who asked the questions to the sages about who are the incarnations in the various yugas. And then his descendant is Janak, who's the father of
Sītā.
Yeah. Muchukunda, who Lord Krishna found in a cave. He was a descendant of he was in the Surya Vaṁśa. He was a Surya Vaṁśa king. And another king that is in the Surya Vaṁśa is Mahārāja Nriga. You know Mahārāja Nriga?
Very little about him, if I remember at all.
Yeah, he was the king who gave in charity to one Brahmin a cow, and then the cow wandered back in his herd and gave to another Brahmin.
Oh.
And so he was very, very charitable, but he had to take birth as a lizard because he had taken from one Brahmin. So then that lizard was later touched by Krishna and revived in his position. So he said that he was the son, one of the sons of Mahārāja Ikṣvāku as a king. So these are all kings in the Surya Vaṁśa dynasty. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is addressed as, "O descendant of Bharat." So that's not this Bharat here in this verse, but a different Bharat who was the son of Shakuntala and Mahārāja Dushyanta. And he was in the Moon dynasty. So all these things are history. So just a question for you. Usually it's said that there's two dynasties, the Sun dynasty and the Moon dynasty. But if you look at the dynasty of the forefathers of Mahārāja Rishabdev, you know Rishabdev, he's in the 5th canto. So his background is he was a descendant of Swayambhuva Manu. And Swayambhuva Manu was a descendant of, he was a son of Lord Brahma. So we don't find an influence of the moon or the sun in that dynasty. So what do you make of that? If we say that there's a sun dynasty and the moon dynasty, what about Mahārāja Rishabdev?
Yeah, that's interesting. But he is actually an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead anyway.
Yes.
Does he have to belong to a particular function necessarily?
Well, that's the question. Sometimes Prabhupada says that there's two dynasties, the moon dynasty, the sun dynasty. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know the answer. That's you can research that. It may be, and this is speculation. I labeled it speculation, that those two dynasties of the moon dynasty and the sun dynasty, they only apply in this particular Manu. You follow? Vaivasvata Manu, and then but Rishabdev, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, he appeared, just a few generations after Swayambhuva Manu, so he was in the dynasty, the first Manu, not this Manu.
Yeah.
You follow? Anyway, these are histories. And of course, that's not the most important thing, but it's an interesting point. So one other point here is that being a descendant of Mahārāja Ikṣvāku, we're talking that Lord Ramchandra appeared more than 1 million years ago. Well, wait a minute. According to modern archaeology and opinion, fully human beings, they call them Homo sapiens sapiens, didn't develop from lower species until about, you know how long back?
No, I'm not
Anybody?
sure.
About 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, but we don't pay attention to those people.
Well, we may not pay attention, but this is certainly a contrast. It conflicts with the knowledge, so-called knowledge of modern science. Modern. So the fact that Lord Ramchandra appeared in Treta Yuga, and if you look in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the verse is Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avivan vivasvan manave praha manurikṣvāku bravit. That this Krishna says that he first instructed the same science of yoga, of understanding how to attain the supreme, to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to his son Manu, that's Vaivasvata Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikṣvāku, the father of mankind. Well, I mean, the Manu was the father, but Ikṣvāku, the first king in this Surya-vaṁśa on this planet. So, and then that way, the saintly kings understood it in this way. And there it says that Ramchandra, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Ramchandra was about 2 million years ago. So that really is contrasting to the modern view of how human beings came to this planet or appeared. So there's anytime when I get a chance to speak about Lord Ramchandra, I like to point this out. That's an interesting point. And my godbrothers, Sadaputa Prabhu and Druta Karma Prabhu, compiled a very wonderful book called Forbidden Archaeology, which is a very large book, but the book details in voluminous examples of archaeological finds that show that fully developed humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, have been present on the earth for extended periods of time, going back at least 1 million years, if not further. So I would recommend devotees who have this idea of, talking to scientists, that they read that book. It's very well documented. I'll just give a couple of examples. So there was a woman in the Midwest, and this was in like the 1930s. And in those days, heat was often for the house was often done by coal. I can remember when I was a young boy in our house, this was in the 1950s, still long, that we used to get a regular shipment of coal to heat the house. So not that long ago. So, but sometimes with a shipment of coal, there'll be large blocks of coal, bigger ones that didn't fit in the hopper of the furnace. So what do you do with that when you have a big lump of coal that doesn't fit?
I imagine you try to break it out.
Yeah, you break it. Right. And how long back was coal formed, at least according to regular scientific?
How long was coal formed?
How long ago was coal formed? Coal, usually they say that coal is from, forests and stuff that was
burned.
Not burned, but covered over many millennia ago and pressed by the upper layers. So anyway, modern views is that coal has been millions of years old, created millions of years ago. So when this woman took a piece of coal, a big piece of coal, and broke it, cracked it in half. Inside, she found a gold chain. It's well documented. And somebody could say, well, she just placed it in there. It wasn't really, it was just faked. Now we talk about fake news. Fake. Mm-hmm. Well, the interesting thing is, she cracked it, and one side was still embedded in one part of the coal that she cracked in half, and the other part of the gold chain was embedded in the other part that she cracked in half. You follow? So she couldn't have placed it in there. Not possible. Another example is in Massachusetts, Dorchester, Massachusetts. This was in the 19th century. They were blasting some rock to build the foundation of a city hall. And it was called pudding stone rock. So they blasted the rock. And out of the blast, middle of the blast, they found a beautiful metal vase with a flower etched inside. No, excuse me, on the outside. And who makes a vase? You find that just naturally in nature? No. So the rock there was over 60 million years old that it was found in. So anyway, just interesting points. Then in this verse, could we look at the verse again?
Yeah.
So from this, this is just support for the Vedic version that on the earth there's been Homo sapiens, fully developed humans, modern humans, for millions of years. Then in this verse we hear about Lord Ramchandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. So here it says that those brothers are plenary extensions, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada calls them plenary expansions. Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Well, if we read in the 5th canto, there's a particular planet in Jambudvip, a particular section, where the people there, the inhabitants, are all worshippers of Lord Ramchandra. And in the purport there, Srila Prabhupada quotes that there's 2 different opinions about Lord Ramchandra and his brothers. In one Purana, the Padma Purana, it says that Lord Ramchandra was Narayan, and his brothers were Lakshman was Shesha, Bharat was the incarnation of the chakra of Narayan, and Shatrughna was the incarnation of the chunk, the conch shell of Narayan. And in another Purana, or Upa Purana, called the Vishnugada, says that, as said here, that Ramchandra is Vasudeva, and his brothers are Lakshman is Sankarshan, Bharat is Pradyumna, and Shatrughna is Aniruddha. So that how can we, the 2 different things said in the 2 different Puranas, how can we adjust that or resolve that?
We have been reading some Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and where we are now, chapter 5, there's been a comment made that the spiritual beings can in fact expand themselves into different, not only regular beings, but different even substances. And of course, the proof of that is Vishaka, who is the one of the gopis, one of the 8 principal gopis. He's also the river Jamuna, Kalindi. So it's possible, in a sense I'm speculating, but it is definitely possible that the Lord's types of view can expand like that into different. I mean, after reading that, it doesn't surprise me if the Sankasha, the chakra, and the kongs and so on can also be from the expansions of the Lord.
Okay.
It was only yesterday. What is it? Today is Thursday. Yeah, it was Monday we read that.
Okay.
So we got that sense. Yeah.
So anyway, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is referred to in Rupa Goswami's Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Lagu means small. You talked about the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And there he says that, Lord Ramachandra doesn't appear just one time. He appears again and again. And so in one Treta Yuga, this recent Treta Yuga, he was Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And a previous Treta Yuga, he was Narayan, Shesha, Chakra, and Shank. You follow?
Yeah.
So that's so interesting point is Lord Ramchandra doesn't appear just one time. He appears again and again. We say that Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, Lord Krishna. But Lord Ramchandra, apparently from this purport, appears more than that within a day of Brahma. Do you follow?
Yeah, based on
yeah. So that's a very interesting point also.
It still supports the Bhagavatamrita point though, because all Bhagavatamrita was saying is that they can assume different forms as they like.
Okay.
So in one another situation in another yuga, they assumed that form.
Well, he has his eternal form. He has his eternal form and his eternal paraphernalia, like the chakra and the shankha. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so in this verse, it talks about due to Lord Ramchandra's causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe. So what is meant here by causeless mercy? In the purport, and we know in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he comes why? He comes to the earth why?
Well, to
deliver his devotees and annihilate or vanquish the non-devotees, the demons, and to reestablish the principles of religion. So, and that seems like a cause, isn't it? And then in the, we know that prayer, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koramore, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar, Moshama Potita Prabhu Napaibar. He says, Narottam Das Thakur says, Patita Pavana Hetu. Hetu means cause. Because you came to deliver Patita Pavana, the most fallen people. Therefore, you've come. So that sounds like a cause. So how can we say, how is it said, causeless mercy here? What do you think about that?
Because he comes out of the supreme will. He doesn't have to do anything.
So you're saying this causeless here means no material cause.
Yeah, there might be something happening, but it does not mean that the Lord has to act on it.
Yeah. So in this material world, things have a material cause. One thing happens, another thing happens, equal and opposite reactions, the laws of physics are there. So Lord Krishna, his appearance, or Lord Ramchandra in this case, his appearance is not as a result of a material cause that we deserve some kind of, we deserve that he comes. Yeah. If you think about it, there's no material activity that can force him to advent or descend. We in this world, we have rejected Krishna, and we've rejected Lord Ramchandra, being envious of him and wanting to take over his position. So if you've repeatedly, and that just didn't happen one time, if you've repeatedly rejected somebody, are they very amenable to talk with you and deal with you? Think about it. We rejected him initially, and we continue to reject Lord Ramchandra and Krishna again and again. But in spite of that, our Krishna comes, and that's causeless. That's causeless mercy. We don't deserve it. We don't deserve that. You know, sometimes, we just passed Lord Nisringadev's appearance day, and we speak about how is it that Prahlad Maharaj became a great devotee of Lord Nisringadev and Lord Krishna. How's that? So what do you say?
Again, it was the mercy of the Lord. It's the mercy of the Lord in that we decide to take shelter of the Lord. Then, from his own supreme will, he'll give us a protection. And Prahlad did just that. Not only did he do, he preached too to his class, to his schoolmates about,
Yes.
Even in at the risk of the teachers chastising, and of course his own father, jumping in and trying to even take his life.
Yes. I'm thinking about the origin of that. The origin of that. There's a story about how in his previous life, Prahlad Maharaj did certain things that were kind of mixed with nasty, and there's a story about that, which Srila Prabhupada never told that story that I know of, but there's that story, and it may be in the Puranas. But what we find in Srimad Bhagavatam is that Prahlad Maharaj, while he was in the womb of his mom, he got the causeless mercy of Narad Muni, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the most important thing. So he got the causeless mercy of Narad Muni, and therefore he became a great devotee, not because he deserved it, but because he got the causeless mercy of Narad Muni, even in the womb of his mother. You follow? So focus. That's the focus given in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the most important thing. We don't deserve. So we're thinking about it in our own cases. I don't deserve to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, but by his grace, he gave me that mercy anyway. Follow? And you're with your spiritual master. I don't deserve it. I'm a lucky person, very lucky. That's reflected in the verse. Brahmande Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Abhij. After wandering throughout the universe, life after life, wandering means you have no destination. Bhagyavan Jeev means a very lucky, a very fortunate person gets the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, the seed of devotional service. Well, that's consistent with the description of the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At least Lord Chaitanya, he wasn't considering, and his associates, that means all of his associates, including the guru in the line of Lord Chaitanya, they don't consider who's a fit and who's an unfit candidate. They're distributing Krishna consciousness everywhere. Who's a fit, who doesn't? So that's called causeless mercy. You follow? Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not because I'm a very elevated, very smart, very spiritually conscious, a very pious person. No, anybody. So with that, sometimes I find myself getting a little bit proud. Oh, this way, but the reality is, I would be nowhere. I have no qualification. The only qualification is, as you mentioned, Parikshit Prabhu, that I accepted the causeless mercy to a certain extent of Srila Prabhupada, and in that way, Lord Chaitanya. So that's a really interesting point. Then, yeah, you want to say something?
There are some people who say, and I know I heard this argument going on and on and on and on one function of getting angry with devotees for visiting. Sometimes you see in the scriptures, well, people have become devotees because in previous lives they've done some things spiritual, they've been to different places, of pilgrimage. They made some effort, and therefore it was easier for them to take to Krishna consciousness when it became possible for them. When they came across it, they took to it. And that's why those people who haven't done that in previous life, they hear about Krishna and they're not so interested. So they made that argument.
That may be that those previous activities allowed them to be open to accept the causeless mercy, but they didn't. It's not that they necessarily deserved it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I brought it up just so you make the comment that that's the point.
It's a valid point. It's a valid point. And so Srila Prabhupada was talking in a morning walk, and they said, how come some devotees asked, how come some people accept and other people don't? And Prabhupada said that means some people are fortunate. And the people, then they asked, what is that fortune? And Prabhupada said, we are that fortune. That's what he said. We are that fortune. We give them fortune, which is consistent with Lord Chaitanya's attitude of who's ever, not considering who's deserving or not deserving, just give it. And then look at this point here. This is a very interesting point. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe. Lord Ramachandra appeared in this universe. How did the causeless mercy happen with all living entities in the universe? I mean, he was here on this planet. He dealt with a certain number of living entities on this planet. So how did it happen? How is it that with all mercy within living entities within the universe? You follow the question?
Yeah. Everything is connected to everything else.
So give further example, please.
That's what my spiritual master told me. That you chant one, it does in fact have a for lack of a better word, ripple effect throughout the whole universe. Even the chanting.
Okay, ripples. He started a wave. They do the wave. He started a wave. It's just his activities of exhibiting his transcendental activities had effects not just on this planet, but throughout the whole universe in one way or another. Yeah. Same thing with Lord Chaitanya's movement. It ripples all over the universe, and especially on this planet. That's very important, very interesting point. So then another point in this verse, this begins to describe Lord Ramachandra's activities. Those activities are very many activities he had. But he describes how on the order of his father, he left for the forest. Now think about this. Not only Lord Ramachandra, but also Sītā, Lakshman. They were living pretty much in luxury in a palace. And just on the order of the father, who was in the Sanskrit was described as guror, spiritual teacher. The father can be the first spiritual teacher. Ultimately they should be. Nowadays they're not so much. But in Lord Ramachandra's case, the order of his father, he was simply told, you please go to the forest. And Lord Ramachandra, he could have said, wait a minute, that's not fair. What did I do? Did he do that?
No, he just immediately obeyed.
This is very exemplary about how a disciple should follow the order of the spiritual master. We got to practice this. We may not be very good at this. Like I'm not very good at it, but think about it. That's something. Srila Prabhupada said, just as the body cannot be separated from the soul in the conditioned state, in the same way, the order of the spiritual master cannot be separated from the very life of the devotee. And he meditated on that verse. And as a result of meditating on that verse, of course, he took up the order of his spiritual master to leave India at an advanced age and come to the West to spread Krishna consciousness, because that was the order he was given the first time he saw his spiritual master in 1922. So practicing that, it might be tough, like in the case of Lord Ramchandra, he's going to the forest. That means austerity. If you go camping, you have, you take with you all kinds of amenities, and even that's a little tough, right? And that's usually for just at most a week. Try it for 14 years. And this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead giving his example of how to follow the order of this, taking on personal inconvenience for the following the order or for the pleasure of the spiritual preceptor. That's called austerity. Austerity means voluntarily accepting hardship for the purpose of spiritual realization, and that's through pleasing the order or following the order of the spiritual master. So in Krishna consciousness, we also have certain austerities that we follow, should be followed without too much question. What are some of those austerities you do?
And the serious is getting up in the morning. I heard it downstairs, getting up early.
Yeah, rising early. Don't sleep late. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that sleep is like death. Yeah. So rising early, before the sunrise, ideally 1.5 hours before sunrise. That's called Brahma Muhurta. Yeah. What other austerities do we do?
Chant the holy name of the Lord, but I don't consider
Chanting japa. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to learn to tolerate difficulties. Learn, like we said yesterday, I think you said, Parikshit Prabhu, learning to tolerate. We don't know how to tolerate, but we have to learn to tolerate. And so when we chant japa, ideally we're chanting, for all initiated devotees, we gotta chant 16 rounds, which takes at least, for me, it takes 2 hours at least. And that means, the mind has so many other occupations that you got to go, but practice accepting that austerity. The 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. Those are basic austerities that we must do without question if we want to make spiritual progress. These are the things we got to do. And of course, there's other austerities like observing Ekadashi, which is tomorrow. When Prabhupada was talking about austerities on one lecture, he was saying he also gave avoiding offenses in deity worship and chanting the holy name. That's austerity. He equated that with austerity. So these are some austerities that we can do. We can't do too many austerities. In the olden days, yogis would they go to the Himalayas and they would meditate in the summer, because in India there's this blazing, it gets really hot. So they'd set a ring of fire and they'd sit in the middle and they would meditate. You can imagine the heat. And then in the wintertime it's cold, pinching cold. They'd go into a river and go into the river up to their necks in the water and meditate in that, the cold water. And that's how they do their austerities, meditate like that. So the Hare Krishna movement, we have austerities, but not like those terrible austerities, not like that. We have a little austerity. So whatever austerities there may be, we should accept, following the order of the spiritual master, as Lord Ramchandra demonstrated in his life by taking the order of his guru, his father, and going to the forest for 14 years.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This more like an observation. The austerities is so nicely described by you, and I know when you asked, I talked about chanting. But ultimately, does chanting become an austerity? Ultimately, in the end.
In the beginning, it is, yes. And even, there's happiness in various modes, right? So somebody can, in the beginning, it might be like poison, but the end is like nectar. So by practice, it becomes, still it can be austerity. There's many other things you have to do, but you want to do, but still that becomes pleasurable over time. Yeah.
At least we look forward
the biggest austerity, you know what the biggest austerity is? The biggest austerity is to try to spread Krishna consciousness, to introduce it to other people. Ya idam paramam guyam. Yeah, mad bhaktim abhidasyati. Someone who tries to spread the movement of Lord Chaitanya that is the highest and the most strongest austerity to do. And Lord Chaitanya is very pleased with that austerity. If we can do that, it's very pleased with that austerity. So sometimes when you do that, people are nasty to you. Does that ever happen? Yeah, sure, that happens. People one becomes ridiculed sometimes, and it really can be damaging to one's false ego. So that's, or at least if you're not Krishna conscious like me. So to Lord Chaitanya especially appreciates that kind of austerity, in addition to those other austerities. And on the strength of those beginning austerities, one can do those the austerity of spreading Krishna consciousness to others. So I know we don't have much time, but in the end of there's in the 9th chapter, there's a more full summary of Lord Ramchandra's pastimes in defeating Ravana and then his reign, 9th canto. So the last verse, or the second to the last verse in that chapter I'll read, I thought would be very interesting. When Lord Ramchandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was the king of this world, all bodily and mental sufferings, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, and fatigue were completely absent. There was even no death for those who did not want it. Purport. All these facilities existed because of Lord Ramchandra's presence as the king of the world. A similar situation could be introduced immediately, even in this age of Kali, the worst of all ages. It is said, Kali Kali Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna descends in this Kali Yuga in the form of his holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. If we chant offenselessly, Ram and Krishna are still present in this age. The kingdom of Ram was immensely popular and beneficial, and the spreading of this Hare Krishna movement can immediately introduce a similar situation, even in this Kali Yuga. Haribol.
Where was this? Where's the no? Okay, so that's the question. Then, what's the reference for this that you just read?
That's text 53 in that chapter. Yeah, ninth canto, chapter 10, text 53.
9, 10, 53.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And I'll just leave it on here so people to read. But
53, it's the one almost the last. There's one more.
53. It takes forever to get through.
There it is.
Okay. So when Lord Ramachandra, Supreme Personality of Godhead, was the king of this world, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, and fatigue were completely absent. There was even no death for those who did not want it.
So they didn't need any doctors or any therapists, mental health workers either.
Yeah, and you can live for as long as you wanted to. Interesting. Well, that's the Lord. He can definitely do that.
Because Lord Ramchandra was present. Similar to Srila Prabhupada saying, because Lord Ramchandra is present in his holy name and Lord Krishna is present in his holy name, the same thing can occur. Even in Kali Yuga. Amazing. Even in Kali Yuga. Wow.
Yeah.
We have some stuff to do then. We can spread it around.
Yeah.
Inside and outside. Inside and outside.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a very nice lecture discussion. Lord Ramchandra is always, he's big in the minds of so many people, especially in India. So devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself, ask a question, share a comment or realization as you like. So please unmute yourself and join in the conversation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, my mind was kind of stuck at the point when you mentioned about some archaeology thing with the vase etched with the flower.
Yeah.
Like so many million years. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? Is it that it was just, I don't know, grounded in the ground or, whatever over so many yugas? Like this pastime, right? Like now, like scientists have found the what you call the bridge that Lord Ram and with the help of the monkeys, from Ayodhya,
Linked to
from
it, yeah. Sri
yeah
Lanka.
to Lanka, and they have discovered it. Of course, it's underwater, but that was like yugas late, like ages
Millions,
later.
yeah. Mhm.
So I'm just thinking if that's what is happening, of course, I'm sure, I don't know if the current scientists even know or believe in such, that it can be that old, but I was just wondering that can be one of a strong point that, that was there for over millions of years from a different yuga. Just a,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So usually, I mean, like I mentioned, that book, Forbidden Archaeology, there's hundreds of examples of this, of finds, of artifacts, of bones, and other things that existed in rock formations that date back hundreds of thousands and if not millions of years. But what modern science does? They ignore them. So it's not possible. It doesn't fit in with their worldview. Just like modern science won't accept that, there's a ultimate cause beside a sentient ultimate cause. They think the ultimate cause is a Big Bang.
Mhm.
So those things are just ignored. That's all. So, but still doesn't mean they're not true. Still doesn't mean they don't exist. So the point of the book is to bring all those examples together, and the weight of those examples is incredible. It's incredible. So many examples are there that were found by reputable people, reputable scientists even at the time, and were put forward. But the the evidence was dismissed as some other explanation was given.
Because it didn't fit with the narrative about
Yes, with their accepted
when
view.
man
Their
was
accepted
there.
view.
That's kind of funny because radiocarbon dating is a method by which people can find out how old something is. Scientists know this. But we
Yeah,
teach it at the college level myself. So I
they
don't
say,
know why they
but
didn't
they'll
do it.
always say stuff like oh, they'll find fully developed human bones in rock layers that are millions of years old. But say, oh, it must have been an intrusive burial. That's what they say.
That's
It
what they gave it an
must have been somebody
excuse.
dug down. Even though the person who discovered the bones or whatever, they'll say that there's no evidence of any the rock formations above were not disturbed. But they have faith that it couldn't happen because they have faith in their view. And as far as the
That's the problem.
the bridge to Lanka, that's called it's well known. It's called they call it Adam's Bridge. You know that? It's called
Oh,
Adam's Bridge.
they credited
Now,
the atom.
yeah, so it was Adam, one of the first human being in
Being.
the Christian idea. But
Okay.
Adam's Bridge. So there's a whole discussion, because in the Ramayana, how long was the bridge that Lord Ramchandra built with the help of the monkey soldiers?
I actually don't know. It's just something that's really nice. I don't know
100
that.
yojanas.
Oh,
100
800,
yojanas.
800 miles.
That's 800 miles. Yeah.
Mhm.
And how far is it between India and Sri Lanka? About 35 miles. So some people say, so Sri Lanka can't be the actual Sri Lanka of old because it's only 35 miles off the coast of India, and the the bridge mentioned in the Ramayana was 100 yojanas. So they say it must have been somewhere in the middle of the ocean, and it some kind of island there, and it disappeared later. That's what they say. But interest from our point of view, from when Lord Balaram went traveling in South India, you know where he went?
Balaram.
There's a place called Dhanuskoti, where that's where the bridge, current bridge is on its way from India to Lanka. And he took his bath there as a holy place because of Lord Ramchandra's appearance there. And when Lord Chaitanya went to South India, he also took his bath at that holy place and at the entrance of the bridge to Sri Lanka. So why would God, as Balaram, why would God, as Lord Chaitanya, give credence to that place if it weren't the actual place of Lord Ramchandra's pastimes? Does you follow?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he found the actual location of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. There were other places that had been discovered or said was the place of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, but he found the actual place. So in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we put a special emphasis on the real thing, not just, you could say, well, it doesn't really matter as long as we think, that's something related to Krishna. But no. When Lord Chaitanya sent the 6 Goswamis to Vrindavan, he gave instructions to Rupa and Sanatan, find the holy places of the Krishna's pastimes and excavate them. Lord Chaitanya himself rediscovered Radha Kunda. So they place great emphasis on the actual locations of Lord Krishna's and Lord Ramchandra's pastimes. So I will accept that that bridge is the remnants of a bridge, and perhaps over millions of years, places move, things move, islands move. That could happen. Why not?
Yeah. Land shifts are quite common, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any final comments or questions? If not, then thank you all for coming on for this wonderful lecture about Lord Ramachandra and the different incarnations. I'm sure the next one will come. We'll have more discussion about the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnations.
Lord Ramchandra ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Lord Chaitanya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Thank you.
Vanchakapatarubhisya kripa
Kripa
sindhubhyo
sindhubhyo chapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Sītā Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Jai.